Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host, Pez, here with Sauce. Well, not here with Sauce, maybe next week, Sauce, because lockdown finishes at midnight tonight. It is Thursday and we have Thursday night footy, so exciting times ahead.
Down this afternoon or tomorrow, I guess, 11:59 tonight. But once again, football has saved us, Pez. We had some absolute crackers games of football last week in round 12. And it started all things off on the Friday night with not only some great games this week, but some big news that's kept us sort of a little bit sane during this lockdown.
Yeah, massive games in round 12, which we'll get into. But the biggest news out at the moment was early in the week. It was Carlton, because they lost to a depleted West Coast side by 22 points, and they were all the rage, having reviews and things like that. And then Buckley just goes yesterday, I don't want to be speaking about Carlton anymore. I'm going to step down as coach, and he's not coaching the Pies anymore. Says it'll be his last game this week, the freeze game, the big freeze game on the Monday.
Yeah, interesting tactic to take the attention off Carlton when the media is not talking about your football club and you've just had a great win. I don't know why you would bring the attention to yourself, but interesting tactic by Buckley. But that sort of sums up his career that he's had as a coach. Some interesting moves and some definitely highs and some interesting lows. Obviously losing a grand final from a questioning free kick that Collingwood supporters will continually harp on about, but really interesting move from my end, where they've been showing some promising signs in the last couple of weeks, Pez. And even winning a game that they weren't expected to win on the weekend, their season almost had turned around a little bit.
Yeah, well, he's been there for 10 seasons. He took over the team that lost the 2011 grand final to Geelong, and then he couldn't get it going at the start. Did make that grand final in 2018, but then struggling and bottoming out this year. He thought he's done a Brad Scott, I think, get out while we're low, and I'll try and save my coaching career for the future.
Yeah, that's interesting because, obviously the biggest plot point from this last 12 months around Collingwood has been the list management and the recruitment that they've done, and sort of that has underpinned the results that they've had, because obviously they've had a range of stars having to make the tough call and leave the club on Collingwood's behalf. But, I wonder if Collingwood is sort of putting Nathan Buckley as a bit of a scapegoat here and sort of using him as the fall guy, considering I don't believe he had a big part to play in the list management.
Well, that's probably what he's hoping as well, so he can be that career coach and get another gig in a couple of years. I think he'll go straight into the media, though, and slot in there nicely like he was after his playing career. Interesting that the club legends of the big clubs haven't really worked out. So you had Michael Voss up at Brisbane, you got Bucks here at Collingwood, and then James Hird. We know what happened over at Essendon. So the fairy tale ending for those coaches couldn't happen.
And the worst thing for Buckley, I suppose, is out of those legends of the 90s that went into the coaching careers, he had a ready-made list. He was taking over a list that was, a couple of kicks away from a premiership in the year prior, and for them to miss the finals twice during that 10-year stint is pretty disappointing, especially only having one grand final appearance in that time also. So really disappointing for Bucks.
Yeah, he didn't take over the club too well, because Malthouse had him won a premiership in 2010. They were a really young side, if we remember back there as well. So they were ready to go, and they were talking about the next dynasty. It would have been 4 or 5 years competing at the top, and it didn't happen. So Bucks moves on after Monday. It'll be interesting to see if the players get up and about playing the top of the table Melbourne this week. So we'll talk about that a little bit later in the betslip as well. But getting into round 12, Sauce, there was a massive game on Friday night, and it was a game of two halves, literally. Melbourne ended up winning by 22 points. Brisbane led by 20 points at half-time and looked on top for all money.
Yeah, definitely, Pez. It definitely looked all over at halftime. Brisbane taking quite a commanding lead, not only lead into the second to the third quarter, but also they were controlling the tempo of the game. What was really impressive from Melbourne was the adjustments that they made, and I guess on the opposing end of that, we spoke Friday night heaps about this over a Zoom meeting about how disappointing it was that Fagan didn't adjust to the change of pace, and Melbourne took the game on, went down the middle heaps, and it was really frustrating that Fagan just didn't adjust, and that really ultimately cost them that result. The D's running away in that last quarter.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to see Simon Goodwin actually make an adjustment because he hasn't been known for that after that 2018 season. But I feel like Melbourne's, their defence have been talked about, which is why they're up the top with Stephen May and Lever down the back there. But they were getting outplayed in that first half. And what he did is he put a number behind the ball. And then Brisbane didn't have that run and that extra player to overlap and then kick the ball inside 50 like they were in the first half. So, and then, as you said, Fagan didn't really do anything. He might have, in the third quarter at some point when they're, getting pretty dominated. And even in that fourth quarter, just try and put someone and match up numbers or something, or your structure's not working in that third quarter, you're getting run over the top of. You got to try something. So that didn't happen, and it wasn't even inaccurate goal kicking, which is why Brisbane usually lose.
No, it was the realistically, as you said, Pez, that number behind the ball, and Melbourne took control of the clearances. They were losing the clearance count at halftime, 8-11, and then they came out and dominated. They generated 14 more inside 50s just from centre clearances alone in that third and fourth quarter. And it's a stat that you continually hear is that you win the centre clearances, you get inside 50s, you win the football, you win the game. And Melbourne were a real testament to that because the numbers behind the ball obviously anchored a lot of their defence. But it was winning that clearance ball, getting a great inside 50, and ultimately scoring. So finishing off the work. And Pez, we've been saying that Melbourne may not be the real deal. Have to now start respect them as a genuine threat to the flag, a genuine threat to September. I know they're a young list. They do have some experience in the finals before, obviously going to the second round a couple of years ago when they got absolutely flogged by West Coast. But they have to be genuine contender, and they have to be flag favourites at the moment.
Yeah, well, flag favourites this early on, you can do whatever you want with that. They're probably going to finish top two because they've already beaten a few teams in that top four already this year. So you'd have to say they get a home final, depending where it will be due to COVID. But flag favourites, and if you write them off, do so at your own peril.
Yeah, speaking of top four, we head down to the bottom four of the eight. Two teams vying for it. Well, at the start of the year, you would expect that they're both vying for a top eight spot. This game was really telling. We had Sydney take on St Kilda, and Sydney were prevalent here by 9 points. Really disappointing by St Kilda, and especially for Jack Higgins, really inaccurate, especially in that last quarter. Once again, goal kicking costing St Kilda an opportunity at a top eight finish.
How can a player kick 1 goal 6? He's done a Max King, and their goal kicking just continues to have an issue. Sydney had more behinds than St Kilda on the day, but I think some of the goals that Jack Higgins actually missed, they were just gimmies, a little around the corners or directly in front, where he's usually been pretty good this year in front of goals. So the Saints were able to compete with Sydney. They were able to, make mini comebacks during the day and get in there with them. But Sydney just too strong in the end, and were able to get over the line by 9 points. St Kilda were impressive in the middle. They actually started beating Sydney in the clearances in that second and third quarter, which was in good stead for them to score. But Sydney, I don't know, just too experienced. They had Hayward up forward, who no one seemed to be on, and they were hitting him on the lead at will. He kicked 3-2 on the day, and that inaccurate goal kicking, St Kilda fans are dreading that each week.
Yeah, dreading that each week. You had Seb Ross run into an open goal and absolutely made the mickey out of that one. You had, as we said, Higgins in the last quarter, two very gettable spots that he missed. King, again, was inaccurate. But positive signs for the Saints is your man Bradley Hill, probably the best game of his season this year, and as well as Brad Crouch, really getting a lot of the pill. I don't know how much impact he sort of made across the ground, but he was getting to some good spots that were really setting up Brad Hill coming out of that centre clearances.
Yeah, I think Brad Crouch, his impact was in the middle, and sometimes people don't notice what it is. But he had 24 handballs, most of them out of that contest and spreading out wide. He also had 7 tackles in there as well. So him and Jack Steele are good there in the midfield. They do need a couple more really consistent players, and Brad Hill on that wing to continue to hit targets and fight for the footy. He did have a couple of contests there where he tried to get his own ball, which is good to see from Brad Hill. He's not as protected at St Kilda as he was at Hawthorn when all he had to do was run and kick. He didn't actually have to go and get his own footy. So, but the positive thing for Sydney is they sit 6th on the ladder. They've got their wins there. They got the other wins. So they continue to go forward, and their forward line is looking super dangerous with Franklin, Heaney and Papley.
Yeah, Speaking of dangerous forward lines, Pez, Collingwood, we've already sort of spoken a little about the start of the show, but their forward line was a one-man army in that first half. Elliott coming back into the side and absolutely dominating, kicking, I think he kicked 4 in the first quarter, kicking 6 for the game. But this was a game that was really interesting. Last week, Collingwood were unable to score a goal in the first half, and this week they were unable to miss a goal in the first half. So Collingwood were different teams from week to week, but this was an interesting game, a game of swings. Collingwood dominated the first quarter. The second quarter was pretty boring, Pez. I think I fell asleep. And the third and fourth quarter was really where the game came alive. So thoughts about this one?
Yeah, Adelaide had their chances. I think that first quarter just won the game for Collingwood, being 24 points up, and Adelaide clawed their way back, but couldn't get there in that last quarter, kicking 2 goals, 3. Elliott was a really good inclusion with those 6 goals and 7 straight at halftime. You're looking at it like, what happened the week before? But the biggest takeaway for me from this game is Collingwood lost the hitouts, which they don't usually do, and no Brodie Grundy, no worries. They got a W.
Yeah, interesting, especially when you've got a lot of your future tied up in a very big salary there, Pez. And I sort of said this on the show last week, I think with no ruckman, that those midfielders that have been really disappointing the last couple of weeks really sort of, try to instill themselves on the game. We saw Scott Pendlebury start back in the defence for the first half of the game, and when the game did come into sort of, that tug-of-war, which way it was going to be, they put him back in the middle and they were inject some life into it. So really interesting ploy by Buckley on his second last week of coaching.
Yeah, I wonder if he already knew he was going to be away from it or whatever. He probably wanted to play Darcy Moore up forward, but he just thought, you know what, you're not letting me play him up forward anymore, so I'm out of here. I'm going to go coach someone else. Maybe Stephen May. He might coach Melbourne in the future. Stephen May put him up forward or something. That's what Buckley's program's known for now.
Buckley's known for taking superstars and turning their own skill set against them. I like that, Pez.
Yeah, playing them in the wrong position. But Collingwood end up getting by 5. Which was really good for their supporters, and they sit down in the bottom 4 there, and Robert Harvey is going to take over for the rest of the year and see how he goes and see who's going to coach them next year. The next game, now I thought this was going to be an absolute shellacking. It was the biggest margin of the round, but it didn't look like that in that second half because Richmond did beat Essendon by 39 points, but Essendon actually took the lead by a couple of points during that fourth quarter there.
Yeah, Essendon looked really good to do the same thing that they did last week to the Eagles, where they come from behind victory. Richmond sort of controlled the game for majority of it. They had a lapse of about 10 minutes in probably the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter. And Essendon, you're right, took their opportunities. They piled on, but it was that typical case, Pairs, of where they put all the effort just to get in front, and then the Tigers said, you know what? No problems, and they piled on 7 straight goals in the final quarter to not only secure a really great victory, but their 7th consecutive dream time. And SBS Stadium looked the chocolates there, Pez. It was a great spectacular. It was a great night and a big crowd for it was a great win for football, really.
Yeah, massive win for football, especially having 2 Victorian-based teams over there. But Dreamtime, it was a great event, and it was good that it could happen with the crowd. In terms of the actual match. It was very interesting because Essendon, the superstar there, Darcy Parish, who's been getting 30-plus disposals every single week, he had a 44, which was a club record, and the commentators were going on about that.
Was it a club record? I didn't hear that stat during the game, Pez, was it? I didn't hear that.
No, well, we didn't hear that when he actually broke it, but we did hear it 300 times before that.
Oh,
so
God.
He did that. He was able to run around by himself. So I think Damien Hardwick, if he thought he was really, really damaging, he would have put someone with him. And he didn't do that. He was kind of looking at some other players there. But Dustin Martin's game, 27 disposals and 3 goals. And then one who I thought who should have been in contention as well. He only had 21 disposals. But Shea Bolton, his presence up in that forward line and bursting out of the midfield, he had 3 goals as well. I thought he was fantastic as well. But Parish ended up getting the award for his 44 disposals in a losing side, losing by 39 points. So I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, interesting, because even when the award was announced, he looked a little bit confused there. Shea Bolton, I thought, definitely should deserve some votes, Pez, being pivotal in that fourth quarter, kicking 2 snags early on to really set up that run home for the Tigers. But you're right, Parish was able to run wild, but that move into the midfield has been really good for Essendon. Some of those young players that are starting to develop are really benefiting from this experience in these tight contests, and I don't think that they're obviously going to make finals this year, Pez, but it's some really good steps in the right direction for Essendon, who you and I both had them finishing bottom 4 at the start of the year. So some really great improvements from Essendon.
Yeah, we're still alive there, because they're a poor club. But now, very impressive with their young guys. They'll be happy with Cox and Ridley down back, Perkins as well, who's looking lively up forward. I think this was just a case of we don't want to give it to Dusty because Dusty wins everything. So let's look at the stat sheet. 44 disposals. We'll give it to this bloke. I don't think they really took into account the big moments of the game when the goals were kicked. I think if Parrish had 1 or 2 goals instead of the 2 behinds, he may have deserved it, but not for mine.
Yeah, I mean, the voting was very close. There were 6 players that polled votes, and Parrish took it out 8-6 against Dusty Martin, and then Shea Bolton coming in with 5. There are a lot of people from from Richmond that sort of stole it away from Dusty, and obviously when there's only one player doing anything for one team, it's easy to get votes for that person. So we probably got a lot of 2s and 3s, and everyone else was giving it to Richmond players, and they spread the love. But speaking of spreading the love, Pez, West Coast finally learned to win away from home, and it took some inexperienced list and some depleted injuries, I guess, for West Coast, and a really, really disappointing Carlton to win away from SBS Stadium.
Geez, didn't Carlton come in as heavy favourites in this one? And West Coast just went, no, you guys, you're Carlton, what are you doing? We're going to take this by 22 points. They had some impressive players up forward. Flying Ryan. He kicked his 4 goals. Jones had 2 for them. And then they had a couple of shots from everywhere else. But they were kicking goals from the midfields, from the wing. Darling kicked the first goal of the game and then pretty much didn't go near it after that. He was just a decoy in the end. And Carlton, their fans would be absolutely bleeding. Big review, massive news around them being a terrible club for the last 20 years. And it probably goes back a bit further than that as well, to be honest.
Yeah, we spoke a lot about the goal kicking early on in our reviews, our preview, Pez, about how pivotal it was for Carlton to get on top of the goal scoring early, because we know when West Coast go there, they had Flying Ryan, they had Darling up there that could definitely get a snag, but a big injury for Harry McKay earlier, with the head knock for him and Brad Shepherd, meant that he spent three of the 4 quarters on the bench trying to recover from that, which really, really put a spot in for Carlton. When he's not kicking goals, they just don't seem to be able to generate any movement in that forward line and be able to generate any sort of scoreboard presence.
No, I thought early on when De Koning ended up kicking his second, he had Owies kick 2 and Eddie Betts kick 2. That's a really good spread at the moment, but they just couldn't get the job done, and it looked like they pretty much gave up in the end. So I think 1 goal in that last quarter to Carlton, they didn't take their opportunities moving inside 50, and West Coast take the last laugh. They move into the 8 as well with 7 wins as well as Richmond, and Carlton looking absolutely horrible with only 4 wins from the 12 rounds this season. So their season is over, and they're doing the massive review to see what will happen to them in the coming years.
Yeah, it's really disappointing for Carlton fans as well as football, I guess lovers, because they had so many promising young talent. They've got McKay up forward, they've got Walsh and Cripps, and there's a whole lot of players in there that had showed a lot of promise. They invested heavily in recruiting this year, thinking that that was their time, and realistically, time-wise, it should be their time. Sam Walsh has taken that next step, but he's about the only person on that list that's taken that next step. Outside of probably Harry McKay, but it's really disappointing for Carlton, and the review can't come quick enough. And I'm really surprised out of the 2 big Melbourne clubs that a coach been stepped down, that it was Buckley over, I guess Carlton's coach, because he has been at the forefront of this, and the review hopefully will ask the hard questions, and we might see a different Carlton for the remainder of the year.
Yeah, interesting. T in charge over there. He's had his own clubs before, and they're in a hole, so they need to give their fans some life in the second half of this season. The final game was between Fremantle and the Western Bulldogs. This was kind of a tight game, which wasn't really expected at the start, and Bulldogs being pretty inaccurate when going forward, but they ended up blowing them out in the end by 28 points and having a really comfortable win.
Yeah, Fremantle really did sort of challenge in that second half, Pez, but it was all blown away with some big injuries. Nat Fyfe did his shoulder, Ruckman, Sean Darcy did his hammy, as well as Brennan Cox another hammy, especially in the space of like 2 or 3 minutes as well, and that really put a big sort of roadblock for Fremantle, and the Doggies sort of cruised on to just a routine sort of second half victory. Liberatore got back to his best, had 6 clearances and 20 disposals, but had his biggest impact in that third quarter when he pushed back and back-to-back goals to really stop Fremantle from coming. And the Dogs, they bounced back after a disappointing loss last week, but they were pretty impressive against the Dockers.
That goal from the boundary line from Libba, that was absolutely fantastic on the wrong side. And doesn't he love it? He's probably thinking that goal's worth 50 runs and his second goal's worth another 50. So he made another 100 over there at SBS.
Yeah, well, he just has a little habit of it. I was waiting for him to put up the bat for the celebration, Pez. That would have really put the
chocolates on it. You see what he did do?
Yeah.
After that first goal? He put the belt. He won the belt in the wrestling, and he's just saying, here's my world championship.
Yeah, he's just across all sports, Libba. He's an absolute star of the game. Speaking of stars of the game, the Bulldogs midfield got back to what they do best and over-possessing the football. McRae had 35 and 6 inside 50s, which is huge. Caleb Daniels, the best kick in football, had 23. As he spent more time in that middle, and he was able to create a lot more, and that was actually something that was enjoyable to watch for the Bulldogs. Caleb Daniel, when he goes in there, and they don't just, handball laterally, and when they actually kick the ball, they're so much better to look. They look so much more attacking. They look like they're going to score on every occasion. And honestly, for me, if they could kick the ball a little bit more forward rather than move the ball laterally with their handballs, they would look so much better, and they would actually, push themselves into really flag contention. Not that they're not already, but I hope you get what I mean there, Pez.
Well, I'll highlight a couple of players as well. Sauce. Bailey Dale in defence, coming out of defence, is really good. He likes to kick the ball more than handball. So there's one. But the one I'm a little bit worried about, who started off the season absolutely fantastically, is Bailey Smith. He had 15 disposals and a goal. His role is kind of that outside wing player, but they've already got McRae that really does that, and they want the ball in McRae's hands and Daniel's hands and Bailey Dale's hands. So my question to you, Sauce, what's Bailey Smith's role for the end of the season moving into finals?
It depends what sort of midfield they're going to run with. We saw his best football, as you said there, Pez, coming into that midfield for little bits of stints, getting the ball and giving a nice inside 50 sort of look. For me, they need to move a game plan that's going to get him involved. The current game plan that they have at the moment, and which has been really successful for them, so I don't know if they will move away from it, it doesn't involve him. And for him being such an elite kick and such a very exciting player, 15 touches is not enough for them when they're winning by 30 points. He should be averaging 20 disposals a game, probably 4 or 5 inside 50s with the way that they get the ball to him on that outside wing. But when they're going down the middle, he either needs to get himself involved, or he's going to find himself with some lower numbers and lacking in confidence coming into finals.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one when you've seen how good he can play in that midfield, but they're working it out. They're winning at the moment, so I guess he's probably playing his role and doing the things defensively that he needs to do for the coach, and they're going there. They've still got Treloar to come back and Dunkley later in the year as well, so they're stacked over there at the Bulldogs. But that'll conclude round 12, and we need to get into our betting review.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They kind of lost, but they won as well.
Welcome to the Bet Review, Pez. We'll get straight into things with round 12, starting things off with the Friday night top of the table sort of clash that we both were a little bit incorrect on, Pez.
Yeah, I got it wrong. Yeah, I had Brisbane, and I just wanted to get that bonus back for the 3-leg same game multi. So I had McCluggage to get 20 and Rich to get 20. Sitting there at half time, as I said in the review of round 12, I was pretty happy with myself, but Brisbane didn't end up getting the win, and Melbourne took the chocolate. So I'll have that $50 bonus to go in round 13 this week.
Yeah, very lucky, Pez. For listeners on the last show, you hadn't realised that there was no specials yet released when you did your bet slip. So lucky for Sportsbet that they did include you on your alternate market or alternate account that you've been using, and you were able to snag a bonus bet somehow, because they did release that quite late on the Friday afternoon.
Yeah, the bonus bet will be handy this week, because it'll most likely be a winner, you'd think.
Don't know about that one, Pez, but as I said, I missed the mark. I had 50 just on Brisbane straight up, and whilst they did dominate early, they were unable to score a goal in the first 2 minutes, meaning that it was a loss for me, because I obviously didn't win either. So on to your Saints, Pez, taking on the Swans. How did you go in this one?
Yeah, I went very well because I didn't have a bet. So that works out really well for me.
It does. I was not. I didn't go well at all in this one. I had a bonus bet on this one. Sydney to win by 40. They obviously didn't do that. Papley to get 3 or more. Was looking forward to his celebrations, but it could only snag the 1. And Jordan Dawson, first time this season, he's gone under the 20. So all 3 of them were 3 strikes for me, Pez.
So cheeky bonus down the drain. See you later. 0 from 2 to start. But looking at your bet slip, we're exciting moving in. The next game is Adelaide versus Collingwood. This is a game I spoke about last week that I just did not know what was going to happen and who was going to win. It was a 5-point game in the end. I didn't have a bet.
Yeah, and Pez, I said I was pretty confident with the Magpies. Well, actually, more confident in the Crows not being able to perform. They're starting to really deplete in those young legs and being the team that we predicted at the start of the year. I had Collingwood plus 13.5. I was talking about maybe putting it on with the head-to-head, but I'll take the 13.5 at $1.90, mate. $47.50 in my pocket.
Yeah, you like that, definitely. The next game we got here is the Dreamtime game. And it ended up being a very good game for the both of us. So listen to this. I had the max on this, Richmond minus 11.5, Heppel to get 20 and Short to get 20. And looking at your live bet, you must like that bet, Sauce, because you copy most of it.
Yeah, we did have a little bit of a chat before this, Pez, and I really liked Jaden Short at the 20 or more disposals. That was good. He didn't look very good early on in the game, but Dyson Heppel to get 20, he was someone that was very interesting watching, so I didn't mind your bet, Pez, and I chucked in Jack Graham there for a little bit of extra value. Should have gone the 20 or more, and I would have been Mickey Mouse there, but a live bet for me with the max, nice 102.50 profit.
Yeah, double it up there. Dyson Heppel gave us a bit of a scare with 2 disposals in the first quarter, and then just started to get on track in that second half. So that was good. The upset of the round was Carlton versus West Coast. I had my bonus bet on Jack Darling to kick the most goals. I was loving it. He kicked the first goal. I was like, oh, how's this? He'll only need to kick another 2 or 3, and we'll be right here. Only kicked the 1 for the game. So Liam Ryan had the most with 4, and the bonus bet, like your Sauce, comes back with no win.
Yeah, but unlike my other bonus bet, Pez, that I did talk about last week, how confident I was in the West Coast Eagles. You called it an upset, but I did call this one early on, Pez. I should have backed on my own merit and not worried about the player list, because I did talk last week how I put on the bet a little bit earlier, not realising how depleted West Coast are, but I also forgot how shit Carlton are. So that was a great little bet for me. Probably could have jumped on a bit later and got some more value.
You could have got heaps more value there. You got them at $2.04.
Yeah, $2.04.
They were heavy favourites, heavy favourites. Now, your confidence was up in the next game. We've got Fremantle versus the Western Bulldogs. I had my cheeky here. I had the overs, which was no good. I had Aaron Norton to kick 2 or more. And the Bulldogs' halftime margin, 25 and 36. And a couple of times in that first half, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get close here. If I lose, it's going to be about 22. But Fremantle just kept coming, and the Bulldogs were just spraying shots left, right, and centre. So the cheeky's no good, no bonus, and we move on to your live bet.
Yeah, so I was feeling confident after the Saturday night, and I worked it out, Pez, that I was going to break even if I didn't put a bet down. So I thought, you know what, there's no point, high risk, high reward. There's no point going in evens. I want to be up and about or down, and sorrow, and with out for vengeance. So I put down a 50 live bet again, and it was with big success. I had the doggies head to head. Marcus Bontempelli 20 or more. He's been killing it lately. James Aish to get 15 or more. I think he ended up with 22, and Caleb Daniel, as we spoke in the preview, Pez, 20 or more disposals. That was money for VBs, that one, and that was my live bet. So saluting another $115 to my account.
Very, very easy there. And we move on to the multi. And just looking at it now and just realising I'm pretty disappointed because I had Richmond and Bulldogs to win, which was pretty easy. And I had Brisbane as the next one at $1.87. So that would have given me $4.27 there. That would have returned 106, and if Brisbane had won, I would have won my other multi, which was 115. So I missed out on $221 for the second half demise by Brisbane, but it's my own fault for choosing them.
Yeah, exactly right. It's really tough when you get one of those picks wrong, Pez, because I was the exact same. It was the only leg that I missed. I had Brisbane, Sydney, and the Western Bulldogs, which would have been 86.42 and 102 from the profit that I was going to get when Brisbane won. So they cost me $190, which is a little bit disappointing. But I was lucky enough to escape with a sports bet promotion and a $25 bonus bet, which I've used extremely wisely this week.
Yeah. Well, it's cost the pod, about $400 there by looking at that. So good on you, Brisbane. But let's have a look at our ROI for the round and for the season, Sauce. Round 12, I staked $135. and I returned $143.75. So return on investment of 6.48%, which isn't great, but I just needed a couple of other things to happen, which they didn't. For the season, I staked $2,275. I've returned $2,621.95. ROI, even though I had a winning round in round 12 Sauce, it took a hit. Because I've been travelling so well, my ROI actually went down with that round. So I'm down to 15.25%. And on Twitter, I've got the little hotel emoji because I'm still in the hotel, but I'm not on fire.
Yeah, well, it's glad that the media managers got back on track and actually done the right thing this week. They've given me a nice little emoji, which I'm happy with. But most of all, they got my bet slip right. So that's what the best part is. But for last week, I staked the maximum that we can stake, despite the rounds that we were a little bit cheeky and go over the rules, Pez. I staked $200 for the round, returned $291, an ROI of 45.5%, which was absolute stellar and a testament just to my live bets alone, basically. So for the year, I've staked $2,075 and returned $2,190.74, an ROI of 5.57%, Pez. And I can see that you've given me the little island and the umbrella, and, so I'm on the beach. I'm coming ready for that hotel, Pez. I can see the lobby. I'm getting inside, I reckon, this week.
Mate, I'm safe inside in the hotel, but if the weather was anything like in Melbourne last night with the winds and the rain, that would have been absolutely freezing for you out on the beach there under that umbrella.
Yeah, the umbrella would have definitely, I think, blown away. Just like all my fans are going to be blown away this week by my bet slip.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Our bets with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, we got Finster on the line, do we?
Why is Finster on the line, Pez? Because you're going to be blown away.
The specials. The
specials. Oh, sorry, Pez. I didn't realise that Finster was doing the specials this week.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
Now, I haven't heard him there. I haven't heard anything. So I'm guessing I'm going to have to do it again, which is pretty disappointing after Finster called me out and wanted to do it. So stuff you, Finster. Here we go. We've got Sportsbet. They've got kick a goal in the first 2 minutes. You win on the Thursday and Friday games. Sportsbet aren't slack this week, Sauce. They've got all matches this round, 3+ leg AFL same game multi, up to 3 refunds per match. And they've also got their head-to-head little special that you got your bonus bet from last week, 3+ leg AFL head-to-head multi in all matches this round, $50 bonus bet back. Move over to Tab. We've got the AFL same game multi special on the Port Adelaide versus Geelong game, and then the Queen's birthday clash, Melbourne versus Collingwood. We've also got the same head-to-head special with the 3+ legs. If one loses, you get 50 back on Tab as well. Move over to Labs. We've got AFL $2 lines for Thursday and Friday games. So if you like them, move over to Lads and get a little bit more value than the $1.90 or the $1.91. Neds, we've got Thursday and Friday, a same game multi, 3+ legs and a bonus back. You can do that there. Now, PointsBet this week, Sauce. PointsBet in the Origin last night, they also put one out for $4 for New South Wales to win 1 to 50 and Addo Carr to get a try. They got so many tries, but Addo Carr wasn't one of them. And today they've got Port Adelaide to win by 1 to 100 and Charlie Dixon to kick a goal at $3. So obviously they think they can get a bit of money out of this. They think Geelong might win, I think. They've got a 4+ leg same game multi and 1 leg fails, get up to $50. So stuff you PointsBet. We'll go to the others for that. And they've got Friday night footy, a free throw, up to $25 back for a same game multi. I shouldn't have even mentioned that because that's just ridiculous for a 3+ legger.
That is a little bit ridiculous, Pez, and that winds up the specials, I gather.
Yeah, that's it for the specials. So we'll take advantage of them this week in our bet slip.
That's right, Pez. We will take advantage of those specials, I'm sure, this week. We start things off, Pez, and Thursday night footy is back, which is fantastic for football fans, but a little bit disappointing for punting fans, or especially for us, Pez, because what it means is we're going to be looking at a lot of games this week without actually seeing the lists, and you'll hear us talk a little bit about how important some of those lists are with key injuries and maybe some key people coming back. But we start off with, Pez, an absolute classic, I'm sure it'll be. A top 5 clash between Port Adelaide and Geelong. Geelong starting favourites in this one, $1.90. Port Adelaide, even despite being the home team, outsiders $1.94. The line for this one has been cancelled, Pez. It definitely is a pick'em. The odds have fluctuated back and forth for this one. I'm interested to see your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, well, really interesting this one because we have spoken about Port Adelaide not being able to perform away from home against decent sides, but they also haven't been able to perform at home because they got flogged by the Western Bulldogs on their home deck the other day. So they're missing just a couple of players. We've got Fantasia, who adds to that list and goes out with an injury. So that won't help them too much. Their midfield's still quite strong, but they just haven't been able to get over the top 4 sides. And I think Geelong with Jeremy Cameron in that forward line have really showed what type of footy side they are. You look at the ins and the outs for them. So your man Jordan Clark gets omitted again, along with Zach Guthrie. Maxi Holmes is gone. Quinton Narkle's gone after a couple of things of brilliance in the last few weeks. And Reece Stanley, all omitted. Just hammer, gone, bang. Blitzarves comes back in, big in. Dangerfield, big in. Mitchie Duncan, big in. And then Mark O'Connor, maybe to go on Boak or Wines, and another big in for the Cats. So with all those ins and the way Port Adelaide have actually been travelling against top sides, I've jumped on Geelong in this one, Sauce, and I'm surprised you said they're into $1.90 because I looked not too long ago and I got them at $2. So I've put my bonus 50 on Geelong and a same game multi with Jeremy Cameron to kick a goal, $2.10. That got me all up. So my 50 bonus is on that to hopefully get that $50 back this week.
Yeah, I love that bet, Pez. I've done the exact same thing, and I must have reckon I got the odds just about the same time as you did, Pez, because I was really surprised to see Geelong as outsiders there. They've generally been pretty successful over in Port Adelaide, and we know that Port Adelaide, all their wins have come against teams outside of the 8, and anytime they've had played a challenger, they really have been disappointing and resulted in a loss. So you know that Port Adelaide will come out and firing, but I've gone Geelong $2 straight on the nose here. $50 stake on that one. I'm hoping Geelong gets an early goal, then that's paid out and I can just enjoy some great football for the rest of it, Pez.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. We'll see how we go. We're both on the Cats tonight, so we're not against each other.
No, an unusual thing here at behind the boundary, Pez. But we get into the next game at SCG. Sydney Swans are loving this pandemic. They're getting all their games at the SCG. So Sydney take on the Hawthorn Hawks. $1.15 for the Swans as the favourites. $5.50 for the outsiders in Hawthorn. The line is huge in this one, minus 31.5, which is really surprising after Sydney's disappointing, output last week. The over/under is 155.5, Pez.
Yeah, massive line. I thought this game, Sydney Hawthorn, I'll take Sydney at the line, but then looking at the line and being around 30, I thought I'm not going to do that, but I am going to take advantage of Sportsbet same game multi-special. I've got Sydney just head-to-head in there, multied up with Chad Warner to get 15 or more disposals. He's around $1.67 or so, so I think that he's able to do that for us. And then Isaac Heaney, anytime goal scorer, he's been loving it up there, and he's that small to medium forward that can take an overhead mark and use his body. He's a really smart forward when he's down there and not injured. So I'll put him in my bet. So maybe he does hobble off with an injury in the first quarter or something. We'll see what happens there. But that gives me odds of 210. So I don't mind those odds at all. And I've chucked 25 on it with Sportsbet there.
Yeah, I like that bet, Pez. I tend to agree with you. I saw this game and I thought, you know what, I'll jump on Sydney at the line. It'll probably be about 21.5, 22.5, but 31.5 is just too big and a little bit unrealistic from my view. Hawthorn generally, whilst they are a lesser team, they do still sort of stay competitive throughout the game. They make a late run in most games, as we saw in that Gold Coast game costing me a couple of weeks ago. I've gone with a 3-leg same game multi, taking advantage of Sportsbet as well. I've gone with Jake Lloyd to get 25. He does that in his sleep. Isaac Heaney to kick 2 or more. He's been in firing form. And Sydney to win the first quarter by 7.5 points to quarter time line. They're a fast-starting team, Pez, and I think they put the Hawks to bed early in that first quarter and then they sort of cruised the rest of the game. That gets me odds of 375 and I've whacked 25 on that one, Pez.
Yeah, no, you think Sydney cruising against the poor side, they very well may, and they're looking good sitting on 6th on the ladder there. The next game is on Saturday, Sauce. We've got Freo versus Gold Coast. You said you were very interested in this one.
I'm really interested in this one because of the key ins and outs that could play in. There's rumours that Matt Rao could come back in, and obviously we talked about earlier the depleted Freo towards the end of that game. Unsure about Fife and Taberner and even the big ruckman that they've got there. So it could be up for the taking this game. At the moment, the bookies are thinking the same thing. So Fremantle taking on the Gold Coast at SBS Stadium. Freo are the outsiders at $1.93, which I'm a little surprised on because pick 'em, you think the home ground would be enough. So maybe they are leaning towards some of those big outs. Gold Coast $1.90. It is a pick 'em game, as I said, so there's no line. The over-under is 158.5.
Yeah, I think the line will come in on this one, or the head-to-head odds anyway, in favour of Gold Coast when the teams are announced, depending on what happens there. But I do think I wanted to go Freo if Taberner was going to play. Yeah, I thought I might pick them, but without knowing the teams, I'll just need you to press that button for me.
Cheeky.
Just a 4-legger, $10 on this. I've gone the overs of 158. Free-flowing footy, I think. Luke Ryan in defence to get 20 or more. David Swallow in the middle for Gold Coast to get 20 or more. And I've just put Freo head-to-head in the hopes that they will get that, but I think that'll go out a little bit more. That's odds of $6.50. Cheeky 10 on that.
Cheeky 10 on that one, Pez. As I sort of alluded to, I don't know what the lineups are doing in this one. And two teams that are really stickly at the start of the year were fighting for the 8 and now have been a little bit disappointing. I can't put any money down on this one without knowing further information with the lineups. Look for a live bet in this one, Pez, because that obviously had some success last week, and I'll be looking to take advantage of that hopefully this week once the lineups are there. But I guess the main ins and outs are going to come from Fremantle. So if you do think that the lineups are going to make a huge impact, aren't going to make a huge impact, I would be jumping on Fremantle a little bit later. If you think that is the case now and you think that the lineups aren't going to make a big difference and you think Gold Coast win either way, jump on it now because it's a pick 'em game for me and I'm sort of leaning towards Gold Coast, but as I said, I can't put my money down on this one without seeing a lineup.
Yeah, well, the lineups will be interesting in the next game as well. We've got St Kilda versus Adelaide, a big matchup with these two sides here.
That's correct, Pez. And the fans in Cairns will be very excited about this one. The game being hosted at Kazali Stadium, of course. St Kilda taking on the Adelaide Crows. $1.84 for your Saints, Pez. The Crows outsiders at $2. The line is -1.5. Over-under for this game, 166.5.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this game. Surely there's not another week where St Kilda can have such poor goal kicking. They showed that they can go against a good midfield and actually win in the midfield last week. Brad Crouch was super impressive for mine. And I think Jack Higgins will, go and kick multiple goals this week. So what I've done is I think the Saints can get over the top of Adelaide. I don't think Adelaide are too crash hot of a side after their fast start to the year. So I've gone a 3-leg same-game multi. Brad Crouch, 25 or more disposals. Jack Higgins to kick a goal. And St Kilda head-to-head. Now, I jumped on when St Kilda are actually $1.84, so I think they're even now at $1.90, which isn't good for me, but that gives me $2.87. I've already put it on. I'll put the max 50 on that Sauce, so I'm pretty confident.
Yeah, I really like that bet, Pez, because I tend to agree that St Kilda, their midfield's really starting to click, and despite some inaccuracies in front of goals, they probably should have a couple more wins for them, and that's why I've gone a little bit
cheeky
in this one, Pez, and I've gone just straight up $25 bonus bet from last week. St Kilda 40 plus on its own gets you about $7, and I think that is absolute value because we know that they're a little bit of flat track bullies there, Pez. What they did to Hawthorn early in the year, smashing them by 69 points and smashing North Melbourne as well as some of those other lesser teams. I think they do that, but I've also paired it up for your mate Max King. This would be a perfect opportunity for him to get his goal kicking boots on there, and him for 2 or more goals is quite great value at about $1.80. I think it was sitting when I jumped on. So Pez, that gives me odds of $8 altogether, and I've whacked 25 on that one.
Look, I don't mind that for Max King to get a couple of goals. That's if he stays in the side, Sauce, because he is lacking confidence at the moment. So see if Brett Ratton backs him in or not. And then you might have to redo your bet if he's dropped.
No, surely they can't drop him this week. I mean, realistically, he's been last week's performance was a little bit disappointing, but this is the perfect opportunity against a really bad side to get the confidence up. He's clearly out of confidence. It'd be him and Higgins and get that forward line moving. This is a perfect way to set up your season. I would be really disappointed to see him chopping the axe now before a crucial game, realistically, because if you lose this, your season is done and dusted.
Yeah, I think the last 2 weeks, against North Melbourne and then against Sydney, there's a great opportunity for Max King, but you've got to actually kick your forward the ball if he's going to have an impact as well. So they're looking for other options and other avenues inside forward 50 at the moment. So we'll see if they do that. But yeah, we've got both our bets there. We think that St Kilda will win. So you get good money on either side if whoever you think is going to win. So if you think Adelaide's going to win, even money there. So that's really, really good.
Really, really good indeed, Pez. One team that's not very, very good this year, but slowly has been improving is North Melbourne. That takes us on to our Sunday games. North Melbourne taking on the GWS Giants, Pez. This one is being played in the hometown of North Melbourne, Tasmania, Bloodstone Arena there. So this will be a really interesting one for Tassie fans because North Melbourne have been improving. They are at $4. Great Western Sydney at $1.25. The obvious the obvious favourites. Minus 24.5 is the line, and the over-under is 61.5.
Yeah, interesting to see how they both come off a bye as well, Sauce, something that we haven't mentioned yet on this show. But I think after a bye, it'll do North Melbourne good because them practicing kicking and going through the middle at the moment is not very good. So hopefully they put the footies down and did something else in terms of that. Because North Melbourne was so poor the other week against St Kilda, and they only lost by 20 points, but St Kilda's goal kicking along with a couple of other things really made that happen. I think the line's pretty good here. I'm going to jump on a 3+ leg same game multi just to have a bit of insurance. So I've got Greater Western Sydney minus 24.5 line. I've got them to be the halftime leader and the 3/4 time leader solely because if they win but don't win by 25+ Sauce, then I do get a bonus bet back for that. So that's the reason I've done that.
Yeah, I don't mind that, Pez. I'm a little bit concerned about this game in terms of GWS's lineup. We know just before the bye that they were sort of staggering in there with injuries. I'll be interested to see if Toby Green makes the comeback here. But, they're still going to be missing Canelio. They've still got, without Jesse Hogan. Braden Pruce is still out. Harry Perriman's still a couple of weeks away. And we know that Brent Daniels did his hamstring during the week as well. So that's there's a lot of injury cloud around them. Again, I'm going to be waiting for the sides on this one, Pez, before I do a bet. I guess if Toby Green comes in, I think the minus 24.5 is enticing. Would need to see what sort of other additions that they make, but for me, I'm going to steer clear for this one for now.
Yeah, well, fair enough. And we head into the next game, which was going to be the Melbourne-Collingwood game, Sauce, but it's actually the West Coast Richmond on a Sunday night, if I'm correct.
That is correct, Pez. We head over to SBS Stadium. I guess it's a neutral game, this one, after the Tigers having a home game there last week against Essendon, who'd played there the week prior. So COVID obviously giving us teams a lot of different versatility around the grounds. West Coast coming as the outsiders at $2.25. Richmond with their newfound home ground at $1.65. The line is minus 6.5. The over-under is 161.5.
Yeah, so this game, Sauce, I don't think you can call it until you do see the teams. Richmond do get to play at the same stadium again. I think they did travel back to Sydney, so they didn't have to have restrictions last week. And then they'll fly over there the day before this game on the Saturday. But without knowing who comes back for West Coast, they were really impressive over there. But if they have the same lineup as last week, Richmond are a quality outfit and should be able to get over the line there. At the moment, definitely no bet for me because this is the game where you do need to have a look at the teams before you place any money down.
Yeah, I think so, Pez. I'm about to contradict what you said here because it is one of those games where you do need the lineups for, but going off last week's efforts, and if Richmond, they looks pretty good up there, they are going to, I would say, put the same sort of team out there. They were doing what Richmond, what we've been waiting for them to do, to just switch it into gears. They showed that they've got the extra gear. The way that Bolton's been playing and the way that Dusty Martin's been playing, I don't know what West Coast can throw at them to sort of combat Richmond's talent. So I've gone with Richmond head to head here. The big win, little win market 1 to 39 at $2.20, and I've put 25 on that one. I just don't think that West Coast is going to have enough people on the park to be able to be able to get a win, but they will keep it sort of close. The line minus 6.5, you get an extra 30 cents for putting in the 1 to 39, Pez.
All right, so 1 to 39, you think it'll be close. You didn't want to add in a couple of legs for For some insurance, just a straight up.
Just a straight up, I think. As you said, it's hard to do one of those disposal bets later on the Sunday when you don't know who the people are. So in this market, I would probably be looking at the 15, sort of the 20 market, but you don't know what people are going to come in. And especially with West Coast sides, we know that Kelly's probably going to be out. There'll be some inclusions in there that there'll be some real value for 20s and 15s. And I'd rather wait to see those teams. I'll probably on the personal, I'll put something in the insurance, Pez. So for the pod, just the 139 for now.
It's the 139. So, yeah, no bet for me. And we move on to the Queen's Birthday Clash, the big freeze, which Neil Danaher has done for 7 years now. It's absolutely fantastic and raising money for an amazing cause.
Yeah, it is, Pez. And this one, just before we get started, I'm really interested in the decision to not move the game, because obviously that's what you want. You want the crowd spectacle around such a great cause. But the game's been moved to the SCG as opposed to the MCG. But they're still doing the big freeze actual spectacle at the MCG in the first weekend, the first Monday back from a pretty extensive lockdown. We're not really going to be able to gather around outside to watch it. Really interested why they've done this, Pez. Now, obviously, you've got Neil Danaher who is here, and he's going to be a part of it. But you think that they would have had like a video stream for him and run the game and the actual the big slide in Sydney?
Yeah, well, probably the only thing I would be able to think of is a lot of the sliders source, as well as Neil Danaher, are located here in Melbourne. And on the restrictions, when we're coming out of restrictions now, if we travel, we have to be out of lockdown for like 14 days or something like that. So something around those sort of restrictions and not wanting those people from Melbourne to be up there is the only other thing I can think of. But Neil Danaher and his daughter are doing an absolutely amazing job on all the TV shows this week promoting it, and everyone around with the beanies, and hopefully it fills the stadium, the SCG, with blue and raise lots and lots of money to try and fight the beast.
Yeah, not only on the radio and the TV, Pez, the stuff that they're doing for the horrible disease that it is absolutely amazing. And make sure you get down to, you can purchase those beanies online from the MMD website, or you can purchase them at Coles or any of those sort of supermarkets now. They're available. So make sure you get down and pick one up. I know that you've got one, Pez, and as soon as I have the courage to leave this cold house, I might go and get a beanie. But let's get into the game. We've got Melbourne versus Collingwood. $1.20 favourites for the D's. Collingwood outsiders in Bucks' last game at $4.60. The line is minus 28.5. That has jumped quite significantly in the last 24 hours. Over under 153.5. Pez, money's with Bucks in the last game. They get that fired coach boost, do you think?
Well, it's always a scary thing with the coach, and it's their last game or their first game, or first game is take over coach. I don't know what's going on here, but 28.5 is probably too high with a coach that is coaching his last game, so they might get up and about for him. But I still think Melbourne are too good to win this. So I'm not touching the line, but I am going to have a bet on this game. 3-leg same-game multi. Melbourne to win. My man Cozzy Pickett to kick a goal, and my man Cozzy Pickett to kick 2 or more goals as well. That's odds of $2.20 and 25 on that.
Yeah, he's electric to watch, Pez, and you would suspect if Melbourne do get the chocolates, he's going to have a big part in kicking a couple snags up forward. It does love the occasion. I'm steering clear in this one, Pez. I do think Melbourne get the win there. I do agree with you. That line, minus 28.5 for a team that is going to go out and show some respect to a coach who remember, stepped down. So he's not a coach that's been fired and potentially could have lost the playing group. A lot of the playing group were a little bit surprised with it. Pendlebury came out and spoke about it today, about how he's the only really sort of coach that he hasn't really been through something like this, and he doesn't know how to respond. You expect Collingwood to sort of probably challenge that line, but I'm steering clear for that one.
Well, fair enough, and it'll be a great spectacle either way, no matter the result. And Collingwood fans will be able to say goodbye to Bucks for a long time, which will be good. The next thing is the multi-source, and I've just realised I did say I got a couple of good prices, like on Geelong and things like that, but I've only got screenshots on my account at the moment, Source, because I haven't had access to the alternate account yet. So all my odds are subject to change, either in my favour or not in my favour. So here's my little multi that I've put together. I've put 3 pick your own lines. And instead of going the plus, I've gone the minuses. All right. So I've got Sydney minus 13.5. That gets you $1.30 by itself. St Kilda minus 9.5. So to beat Adelaide by 10 or more, that's $2.25 by itself. And GWS minus 5.5, $1.28. So altogether, that gets me $3.74. Put 25 on that, and rooting for that to get home this week.
Of course we are, Pez. We're all rooting for you to get home, and just remember those those odds and lines will be subject to change because you did do that before the switch. So you're probably looking at still the same sort of around value, but that will probably change with the live bet. I've gone with sports bets, same game, or not same game, the same round multi with a head-to-head markets. One leg fails, I get my bonus bet. I've put 25 down on the Cats, the Saints, Richmond and Melbourne to all do a number. That gives me odds of $6.92, and I've staked 25 on that one, Pez.
Jeez, there we go. There's some big odds. Look at you go.
Yeah,
bit of confidence from last week.
Well, like now that I can see the lobby, Pez, I'm really cold outside. I don't want the winds to take my umbrella away. I want to get inside and enjoy a couple of bevies with you, Pez. So I'm punting hard this week, and it's a big comeback round for me.
Well, if you do make it to the lobby this week, I'll just wave to you from the 15th floor, and we'll see how you go.
15th floor because you're looking to jump off because you're going to have an absolute shocker. Is that right? Is
it? We will see. The betslip will be out on Twitter at Behind the Bounce Sauce. So make sure you follow along there and keep up to date with all our cheeky punts that we're putting on this week. Let's hope that one of us can get a cheeky up and we both have a decent round and start building that bank.
Yeah, speaking of building bank, Pez, I've banked a couple of points in our coin toss segment. So let's get into that and see if you can finally catch me.
It was a toss of the coin.
That 5 wins the toss.
Yes, it's been an unusual year for coin tosses.
Drives it beautifully. Eureka! Big time again!
Well, Sauce, you already know the answer to that. I can't catch anything because we had the exact same picks last week.
Yep, I know.
So we got 4 out of 6 last week, Sauce, missing out on the Brisbane and Sydney lines together. But we'll toss the coin this week and see what we can come up with the 7 games.
Yeah, so the first one is Port Adelaide versus Geelong, and at the moment it is a pick'em. So there is no line for this game, Pez. I guess if the line does get released, it will be minus about half. So it's a pick'em for this one. Geelong or Port Adelaide?
Yeah, the Cats, we probably know that from our bet slip.
Yeah, we do, Pez. Both on the Cats for that one. Sydney versus Hawthorn. We spoke about this line, minus 31.5 in favour of the Swans.
Oh, big line, but I have to go Sydney because Hawthorn is such a poor footy side at the moment.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the Swans in this one too, but the Hawks will make that really close. Fremantle versus Gold Coast. At the moment it's showing as a pick'em, so there is no line in that one.
Nah, this is super dangerous for me, and losing Darcy and losing a few players, Fremantle, I'm still going to back them at home, so Freo.
We are head-to-head in that one, Pez. I'm going the Suns. All right, your Saints versus the Crows at minus 1.5, favouring the Saints.
I've got him in my bet slip for minus 9.5, so I can't go past that.
Yeah, I've got him 40 plus, Pez, so minus 1.5. I would hope they cover that one. All right, North Melbourne versus Great Western Sydney. The line favouring the Giants at minus 24.5.
Yeah, the Giants for mine.
Tough one for this one, Pez, but I will stick with the Giants. Richmond versus West Coast, minus 6.5 in favour of the Tigers.
I'll have to go Tigers with not knowing who's going to come back for West Coast.
Yeah, much the same, Pez. Interested to hear your thoughts on the Melbourne versus Collingwood line, minus 28.5 favouring the D's.
D's can probably get that if it's a draw at 3/4 time. They can probably still win that. So for that reason and that reason alone, Melbourne.
I'm going to go Collingwood in that one, minus 28.5. So we're head-to-head in that one, Pez.
Head-to-head in a couple of different ones. You got another one for me?
No, I don't.
Oh, well, that's...
Actually, I do have Pez. I thought you were talking about football games. I'm like, Pez, we've just gone through a whole review. There's only 6 games in that round. Yes, Pez, I do. With the terrible weather this week, I've got 2 for you. Right, the first one is a very simple one. Is just, would you prefer a hot summer day or a cold winter's day?
Hot summer.
Yeah, I agree, mate. I'd rather be sweating balls than trying to cover up. And the other one, Pez, a real simple one. This week, earlier on in the week, Melbourne got voted the 8th most livable city in the world. Adelaide and Perth both beating Melbourne. So Adelaide or Perth, Pez?
Perth. Haven't been there, but I have been to Adelaide and it's boring as all hell.
Yeah, I'm much the same, Pez. Perth I've been to both cities, actually, both for the football, and both saw Geelong victories, but Perth is an absolute, it's a great place to be. So I love that theory in yours there, Pez.
Yeah, that's good. The City of Churches in Adelaide just doesn't do it for me, but No offense to the Adelaide people and the Adelaide listeners. Keep listening.
Mate, we just lost 50 subscribers. Our Adelaide, South Australia following is pretty big, so that's disappointing for the Crows.
We already lost Tasmania. We just had a pot at, I don't know what's going on. Well done, Adelaide. You got a beautiful city. I'm Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.